Hello, welcome to the Durty 20 podcast. This is where we deep dive into D&D. I'm Cameron, I'm the host. And today's topic is on concepts for noobs. Pretty much. The concept I wish I would have known. But first, thank you for all the lovely comments on the last video. It was fantastic. Everyone was really excited. He's going to fuck something up. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Oh, fantastic. Oh, wonderful. Reading that people actually want to watch the show and like the show. Heart warms my little heart. Warms a wee heart. And I'm going to put it on Spotify at some point because someone said they wanted to listen to it on Spotify, which is fantastic. I've been away trying to figure out how to film this fucking show. Me and my friends want to film the D&D game we're playing. And it's been a bloody disaster. Like, the video recordings never worked. We have 2 audio podcasts, and we're going to keep that going till about 3, and then we'll start posting it. Because getting adults in a room for an hour is apparently really, really difficult. So, and that in itself is you'll see it. You'll see it, but you'll see it when it comes. When it comes out. It's very exciting. Okay, right. Anyway, the concept, talking about the one concept, not the one concept, a bunch of concepts. Did I say one concept? Didn't mean it. A bunch of concepts that I think are, I wish I would have known, or wish someone had told me, put them in my head about D&D, and I writ them down for myself. Concept number 1 is you're on your player's side. You're not on anybody else's. You're not on the bad guy's side. As much as we play the bad guys and the bad guys are trying to kill the players, no, that's not what we do. We're on their side. But there is examples of what I mean by this. The classic old middle ground, I think, is a great one. Or I guess it's called the competency middle ground. Your players are like, I want to climb a tree. And then you're like, roll. And they're like, wait, to climb a tree? Why? And you're like, because you might fall, right? That kind of thing. So we're in this weird kind of spot where we're asking them to roll to climb a tree, but they could definitely climb a tree. If they're in combat and completely surrounded by enemies, absolutely they need to roll. But sometimes at the beginning of combat, they want to do something and there's a chance of failure. I think that's the that's the better way to put it. The advice is if there's a chance of failure, they should roll. But I don't think that's adequate because there's technically always a chance of failure. I could walk across the room and trip. Like, it rarely happens. It's below 5% chance that if I walk into my kitchen, I'll fall over. But I have fallen over in that kitchen once, and I've lived here 2 years almost. No, 1 year and a half. Year and a half. So there's a chance. There's always a chance of failure. That's what I'm getting at. There's always chances that you fuck up and people fall over. So it's not adequate, I don't think. It's when you don't know that something's going to happen, or when you think there's a chance of failure. But if they just think they can do it and you're not sure, lean to the side of the players. So, if they're a ranger or a fighter or a rogue or a fit adult, like, can a fit adult climb a tree? Of course, a fit adult can climb a tree. They shouldn't really need a roll. They can pretty much climb a tree. Not if they're surrounded by enemies, but if the enemies are over there and they're here and then they can climb the tree, they just climb it. But obviously you might want to make them roll and it's like, oh no, just let them climb the tree. Other example would be, how much health do they have? And they're like, wait, how much damage did I take? And then everyone kind of forgot. And then they were like, was it 8 or was it 10? Give them 8 damage, not 10, right? Lean to the side of the players. If they're in a cave and they forgot something, there's like a cat here in my face, and they forgot something, they have it. Because we want them to be in... No, we don't. We don't want them to be in town. They're in town, and they're like, oh, I didn't pick up a hatchet to cut the tree down. I'm like, well, would you have a hatchet? And they're like, yeah, my character would bring a hatchet. I'm like, well, you got a hatchet. Let's keep going. Let's keep moving. That kind of is what I mean. Like, this kind of idea that you lean to the side of the players because we're on their side. We want them to win. So that's what I would do. Oh yeah, they want to be cool. This is another thing that's like lean on their side. When they fail stuff, or when they fail, they want to come out looking cool. So let's say they jump across a building, and then they fail and they fall off the building. You can still say they land in the Spider-Man pose, or they do a flip on the way down or something. Like, they want to be cool. That's the whole reason they're playing this game, is they want to be cool. They want to see things coming before they happen. They want to kill monsters flawlessly, and they want to succeed at everything. Now, obviously we can't have players succeeding at everything, because then there'd be no game. But they want to be cool, so you've got to limit the amount that you make them look stupid. That's what I would say. Even on ones, I would refrain from them being dumb, and I would more lean towards the worst happened, but it wasn't you being stupid. Not often, anyway. That's my advice. We're on. So, concept number 1 is, it's a very simple concept. It doesn't need much talking. Point. Nope, doesn't need much. Doesn't need spoken about much. Like, it's just be on their side. Give them items that they think they had. If they've made a mistake and it's like one round, go back and just be like, right. Or if they like, oh, I should have put 6 extra damage on. Just give them the 6 extra damage. Just put it on, the mark on the character. I don't know if that made sense. Hopefully it did. Be on their side. You're their friend. You're also the DM, but you're also wanting them to win. Just be on their side. Right. Moving off this point. I've said it like 8 times. Guess this is it. Don't be scared of the dice. Don't be. I think we're scared of the dice when we start playing D&D. I think we're kind of terrified of them because they might kill our precious players quickly, and we're not ready for it. But don't be scared of them. Don't be scared of them. I think part of what makes a problematic game, I don't mean that in the I guess the new term, is we feel like we should be safe. We feel like we should go easy on the players or something like that. And I think that holds back a game, or the players can feel it, or they feel that something's off because you're going easy on them. And so what I mean by don't be scared of the dice is, don't be afraid if you're hitting a character and they're nearly dead. Don't be afraid of the dice. They're going to roll. They're going to maybe die. They're maybe not going to die. You don't want to be scared of the consequences of the dice. Which leads a little bit into, this is a huge topic, I understand, but I wouldn't fudge the dice ever. But because I just think there's a sanctity to it. There's a certain amount of sanctity to the dice that I just don't think you want to get rid of. Like, in your own head, not even for the players, like for your own sanity. Like, you wouldn't, just don't get rid of them. Sorry, don't get rid of it, because I guess there's times I've killed a player and it's turned out better, and there's times where I've saved a player and it's turned out good, and then there's times where the opposite is true. So my issue with like, oh, you should fudge the dice when to save the narrative or to make it fun, there is a certain level of, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know whether this will be more fun or less fun. Because I think the main argument is fudge the dice for fun, like fun over the dice. But I've obviously, leave some examples in the comments, people. Help me understand you. But there's definitely times I think I could have saved a player and they technically wouldn't have. They would have had more. Fun's a funny one. I'm not sure if they'd have more fun, because like losing a character is never really fun. It's either tragic or it's sad or it's one of those two. If there's a heroic sacrifice against the big dragon as the other players manage to escape with the trophy of Tandul, like, and the player dies doing heroics, it's still sad. It's still not a great experience, but you come out of it like that was cathartic. But sometimes they'll get killed by I think the argument would be they get killed by a random encounter fighting some goblins. And there could be an argument, not even there could be, there is an argument for that isn't very fun. It's kind of not menacing, the opposite of that, meaningless. It's completely meaningless. They just died inside the road. Which obviously the argument against that would be, as is life, but we're not playing life. We're playing make-believe, where we want things to be cool and fun. So I guess the questions are strange. I think I guess what I do is I don't do encounters that don't matter. Like, I don't do random encounters where you're walking through the woods that I would accidentally kill a player in. Most encounters are like, we need to deal with this, or run away. But we have to deal with it for whatever reason. Like, I just, that's better. I've already said it. It's the best way to do it. I don't do, here comes 8 goblins. As much as I want to start doing that, a little slight tangent, I want to start doing that and stick to the rules. Because I said I roll out in the open, right? So I'd roll, and it'd be an 8 for a random encounter, and then the number 8 would be a dragon, and I'd be like, fuck, guys, it's a dragon, and we have to commit to this. I think there's some fun in that. But I also see the other end, where if you've got a character that is like, session 2, like, they haven't really, their characters, like, they're getting in session 3, they're getting in the groove, they're feeling the character, they're finding his voice, and then they die at a point that isn't that necessarily very climactic, and you're like, maybe I should save them, maybe I should, should I do this? We fudge the dice? Don't know, this won't be fun. I don't know, but I think you should never fudge it anyway. I still stand on that, because I think one way I get around this whole fudging thing is, but this comes from practice, I stop it before it happens. Like, I had the close one, the one I can remember is a vampire lady was down in the basement, and she couldn't go into the light. She had to stay in the shadow, but she could force, brainwash a character to come into the shadow. And I thought the player was going to die. I think he probably would have. So I just didn't use that ability. She just stayed in the shadow and was like being creepy. But he tried to leave, and she would get in his way, so he had to get past her. But it was kind of on his terms, and then he found a way out of it by just picking up a torch and throwing it in the path and just making his way out. And he made his way out, and I was like, right, I could have stopped him. Why didn't I stop him? And I was like, 'cause I think he was going to die. I didn't want to kill him. It wasn't the time, so I didn't. So you can stop it from happening, but sometimes it just sneaks up on you and happens. And it's the game. It's the game. Like, we're playing with dice. It's kind of built into it that some characters might die at an unceremonious time. And I think you can save the narrative in so many ways. If there's a TPK, they could be captured, they could be in hell, they could come back to life, but with a certain condition. But then some players might find that, I want to move this. Noise! But some players might find that lame. For lack of a better word, they might just find that really lame. So, it is down to 1, the table, and 2, you, the DM. Whether you want to not fudge or fudge. There's a whole topic that I would definitely need someone who is for fudging to talk to me about. So that'd be sick. But I'm for not fudging. But the point is, you probably shouldn't fudge the dice for like stuff. If you are going to fudge the dice, you should save it for situations that are like, oh, I really don't want them to die here. This would be shit. But I think you are breaking some sort of trust. I think my main thing is, I think they can tell when you roll. Like, they've been watching you roll and then tell them a number a lot over the course of the D&D, even just one session. So I think there will be a second where you notice the dice, think, and then give it to them. I just think they noticed. Because when I was a player, I'm sure I noticed. And then when I started going, did I notice that? And then I started thinking, oh, did he fudge it? Did he not? I don't know. I feel like 4 guys missed me. It's possible. And it starts to worm its way into my head. But that might be me as a player. So I think there is a certain level of fucking figure out for yourself in this. But the main concept is, don't be scared of the dice. Roll them. Don't worry about hurting players. On that though, I kind of covered it, but killing players is fine. There's nothing wrong with killing players. That's always going to suck. Which I did say. But I think we think D&D is fun. I guess the umbrella. So when something isn't fun, we think something's wrong. And I wonder if that is a reason we move towards fudging dice. because a player dies unceremoniously and we're like, oh, that wasn't fun. That's not what this game's supposed to be. Move off. Move out of there. But then I'm like, you can't have the levels of obsession that we all seem to have with this game and the level of obsession we have with our characters and expect them to die in a way that is fun every time. Or to have them die in a way that... there's no way a character can die that would kill a narrative. That's just not how it works. The fun part I understand, but the narrative one, there was like, oh, it's fun to die for the narrative. Impossible. You can always recover the narrative. I'm not writing a book. It doesn't even make fucking sense, let's be honest. It needs to make sense to the players. And if they don't know it's a plot hole, there's no plot hole. But maybe why we lean towards that, because we think, oh, it should be fun, and then it's not fun. But that's why I think the expectations should be a little bit different. I think older editions or older players would probably know this. A lot of D&D is just shouting at each other about what is true, what rule is right, how this should go, how the fuck physics work, and I should be able to do X or Y. And a lot of it is not the best of emotions, we'll say. And potentially not fun. It's frustrating. It's lots of stuff. I'm not going to go through emotions. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's fucking frustrating. So I think a certain level of changing our expectation is what we need. Is like sometimes this game is not going to be fun. You're going to look back on it and it's going to be fun. And I look back on my first campaign, which is Curse of Strahd, and my players were a fucking menace. A lot of them. I think one player was responsible for no way, did he kill 2 players? He killed Tavaldi, did he kill? He was responsible for one player's death, and then he was partially responsible for everyone else's, for the whole party dying, because he was just an absolute menace. But they would argue, they would fight, they would try and lie to each other, they would try and steal from each other, they were so invested that they were so emotionally attached to these characters that any failure was completely out of the question, so they would always try and be one up. And I wasn't a great DM, so at some of these concepts I would fail at. Like, I wasn't on their side at points. I was trying to get them with a thing because I wanted something to play out the way I wanted it to, which is why I kind of was it fudging as a gateway to being a dick. Because you want something to happen. You want something to go a certain way and you think it's really cool, and the players don't go that way and it's not going to turn that way, and you'll use everything in your power to push it that way, which I think you shouldn't do, but that's kind of neither here nor there. They were an absolute menace, but I think looking back on it, it was so good. It was so good. We spent so much time arguing with each other and being in the same room and shouting at each other, but guess what? We weren't on our phones. No, we were. It was just good. Thinking back, it was good. We were all so invested. We were all so silly. It was wonderful. So I think sort of change of expectation could be good for you. Maybe that's a concept on here. There's like, sometimes the shit isn't fun. We're super invested in these characters. You're gonna get, which is, I don't even understand why it is a thing with D&D. Should probably be studied. It feels like it's one of the very few hobbies where everyone on average is so obsessed with this game. Should be studied. Anyway, so what did I say? Killing players is fine. Killing players is fine. Don't worry about it. Sometimes it's not fun, this game. It's not. Sometimes this game is frustrating. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's horrible. Sometimes you'll have a bad session. But I think some of that depends on your friends. If you're playing with good people and they are your friends, a bad session can be a good session because they're your friends. And sometimes you fall out with your friends. But it's kind of part of it. And also, they're like with your friends, I think you have to have an argument. You have to fall out. You have to have an argument. You have to see that side of them. D&D's the same. You need to have a bit of a bad session to be like, not a bad session. You have a bit of a disagreement to be like, right, how do we all act? You know, like when a character dies, players will be mad for like 30 minutes. But sometimes it might be long. I think any longer than 30 minutes, like, they're mad at you. You killed them. For 30 minutes, they might be mad at you. You fucking shouldn't have done this and shouldn't have done that. But after 30 minutes, they'll be like, oh, new character. How do I join back in? I'm excited to play. Here we go. So it's like, how do you handle character death? You play for a bit to kind of conclude whatever scene is happening. Unless that scene is going to conclude in like fucking half an hour. Find a natural breaking point, take a break, let them leave, let them be angry for a bit, and then they should get over it. If they don't get over it, that's the player's fucking problem. That's the player's problem. I just did a TikTok thing. I think there was a girl that killed a player and they left the game for like an hour. And I was like, no, grow the fuck up. Sit at the table. Right. So don't fetch players because it's like, yeah, I think it's kind of a side note. This whole game is like getting them as close to death as possible without actually killing them. Is the game. This is the whole game as a DM. You're trying to get them as close to death as you can, and then pull up. It's like playing a game of chicken. It's like flying the plane down as slow as you can and coming up. That's the whole. What time is it? We're good. That's the whole game. That's the whole thing. Try to kill them, but not at the same time. Right. So, concept number 1 was you're on the player's side. Don't be a dick. You're on their side. Give them the advantage when you can. Number 2 was don't be scared of the dice. It's okay if you kill a player. It's okay if you roll really shit all day. That's what it was as well. The challenge isn't the HP, which is kind of a similar thing I think I did in... Did I do that in Immersive Combat? I think I talked about this in Immersive Combat. Episode 6 or something. Whereas like the challenge in the fight is how the fight plays out. Like players are flung and thrown and pinned, and the players are climbing up ogres and hitting them in the head, and afterwards they're like, "Oh my god, whew, what a fight!" Because you described things happening to them, even though they barely lost any health. That's how you make a challenge in combat. It feels like a challenge, not necessarily mechanically is a challenge. So don't be worried. Don't be scared of the dice. So if they roll low and your players just fucking barrel through your encounters. Back to point number 1 is they like to feel cool. That's totally fine. You can probably hear the rain, so ambiance for us. Do they want to be cool? They want to be fucking cool? That's okay. You did well, and you're big bruise, man. They're gonna figure it out. No, they're gonna enjoy it, and your sense of how much health to give the enemies and stuff will start to form. You're gonna fuck up completely. You're gonna give them too much health or too little health or somewhere in between. You're never going to get the perfect point because there is no balance in this game really when it comes to this stuff because we're rolling dice. Like you could have a group of goblins that all roll 20s and then that is a really dangerous encounter as opposed to a group of fucking dragons that always roll 2s, and it's very possible that would happen. So anyway, that was completely irrelevant to any of my notes. So I hope it made sense. Characters need failure. This is a concept you understand. They need to fail. But too much failure and they don't like you. Too little failure and the game doesn't have a... Right, games should go like this. They should go like, we're playing the game. Ah, fuck, we did it. Right? That requires failure. There needs to be, like stories, there needs to be failure at some point. So if you don't give them failure, they're not going to get the huge high. But if you give them too much failure, there's going to be like, fuck you. It's kind of just how this game... emotions, people. They're children, right? When we start playing this game, we're all 12 again. So what you need to do is put in... I'm going to talk about a game, I think next episode, called Easy D6. And it is just so goddamn good at this very thing. But I'll get to that next week. You need to... That's loud, man. Scotland's weather's back. Our 1 week of summer is over. Now it is basically raining and grey all day. Anyone who actually lives in Scotland will know. Right. Fuck, completely lost what I was talking about. They need failure. They need it. We have to give it to them. But too much failure is bad. Too little is bad. So let the dice do it. That's what it is. That's why reason I don't fudge. It's because I need the failures of the dice to happen so that I don't do it to them. That's why I roll in the open. So I roll in the open, I'm like, look. You fucking failed. It failed. It wasn't me. It was dice. And then you give them their failure. And then you don't make them look like idiots with the failures you give them. There are setbacks and problems, but they are not stupid. What that does in my... What I think it does anyway, I guess, is cushion the blow of failure from me to them, but but it gives them the necessary amount of failure for a good high at the end. So like I said, don't make them do unnecessarily stupid things, or don't make them always be stupid, but let the failures come, and then they will... I think underestimating your players is a problem with this whole fudging thing. Obviously, fudging for not killing them doesn't apply to this. But if you kill them... Nope, if you fail... If they fail... Man, talking. Who knew it was so difficult? If they fail... Sometimes we think it will be over or very hard for them, or it will lead to death. But we underestimate them sometimes of what the players are actually capable of. And they can be capable of a lot of crazy shit. So don't be afraid of the dice. Don't be afraid to fuck them up, because they will recover. Most probably. Unless you've... But like, it's really hard to fuck up that bad. I think it's difficult. Anyway. So, characters need failure. You need to make sure they fail. But you got to do it in a safe way. So, allow the dice to do it for you. And don't make it embarrassing or shit. Or warp the character's view of themselves, where they are now just a bumbling idiot. We don't want that. So, moving on to another number 4. It's collaborative. Right? It's a collaborative game. And I know this is obvious and it's always said, but it didn't really click for me until I started rolling in the open, actually, and stopped fudging my dice. I shouldn't know what's going to happen any more than the players should. All I should know is the situation that they're in. Like, I know they're going to go into this cave, get into a fight, and where the skeletons actually are in the cave. But I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how they're going to solve the problem. I don't know how they're going to kill it. Are they going to kill it? Are they going to talk their way out of it? Like, it's collaborative. What exactly is going to end up happening? And I find that is what helps create this whole, like, very unique story. Because you can push the players, like, towards a thing. And this is railroading, which is another topic. But it's like, you can funnel the players to a thing, but you can funnel the players in a bad way or in a good way. And I think when I was fudging the dice and such, also I think planning multiple sessions was a thing, I had an idea over here that I wanted them to get to. So I would just kind of like fudge a dice here and there so they solved a certain thing, or fudge a dice here and there so they didn't solve the thing. Or if I wanted an encounter to play out a certain way and I wanted it to be a bit longer or something, I would just give the character more health or change their AC on the fly. I'm casting some. Change my AC on the fly. Something like that, you know? Like, just fuck with things so that what I wanted to happen, happened. But there's a certain level of trust that I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen. This encounter could play out in one round or 8. That's too long. 1 round or 4. Will the character die? Will they not? Don't know. How they're going to solve it? Don't know. Like, I just create the situation and then let the players go and let them handle it and not know what's happening. And that's, like, there is a lot of letting go of control that I think DMs have to have. You just have to be like, what's going to happen? I'm here for the ride. Like, I'm playing too. Like, that's why I'm playing, and the way I play is, what's happening? What's gonna happen? I don't know. And this is fun for me because I don't know what's gonna happen. But I'm on your side. I want you guys to win. So what are we doing? Here we go. And I am rooting for my players. I want my players to win. I'm like, I hope you roll well, and I hope you do this, and I hope that works, because I'm on their side, which makes me seem less like a villain. If you are actively encouraging your players and saying that's a really good idea, or hope it works, and I don't know what's gonna happen, like this ogre picked you up and I'd fucking shit. I don't know, man. I rolled a 10, 20. I rolled an 18. He got you. What are we doing? Like, you know, you share in your players' feelings a little bit. It's a collaborative game. You shouldn't know what's going to happen. You should be surprised by your players. And they should surprised where the story ultimately ends up going. So yeah, let go a little bit more of the control. You don't need as much control as you think you do, I guess, in the beginning. Because I thought you needed to know a lot. You can get by on D&D with surprisingly little. You need surprisingly little to run a game. It's quite incredible. Our last concept, ladies and gentlemen, I think is the concept that matters the most. And I said it earlier in the episode. Balance doesn't really exist. There is definitely... Okay, that's maybe not good. There is very clearly unbalanced. But there's never really a clear, oh, perfect, we did it. There's clearly, oh, that's useless, like a dagger that does 1 damage. Or the ability to fly. Which I don't even think's unbalanced. No, I say that out loud. The ability to fly, a level 1. Like, is it unbalanced? Like, maybe a little bit unbalanced, but like a little bit. I don't know. That's what I mean. Like, we don't know. We don't know. But I'm mainly talking about how much health to give enemies and how much damage they should do. It's like, if you don't know, that doesn't mean there's a balanced answer. It's never like this. Like, again, we are playing with dice. Everything's fucking random. There is no balancing this game. There's too much randomness, and there's too much player thought. Like, you could have a really unbalanced encounter, and then they just go that way, and they push a boulder and it kills everyone, and you're like, great, okay, wait, well. So it's like unbalanced if they attack it a certain way, but it's not unbalanced if it's not unbalanced if they attack it another way. So this whole concept of balance is kind of annoying me, where they're like, oh no, there's got to be balance to it. And I'm like, there is none in this game. It's too wild. It's too fucking wild. But I think when you were beginning the game, you're like, how much health should I give the characters? The monsters. How much damage should they have? How much should they move? Fucking pick any number. It doesn't matter. Don't pick 1,000 health. 1,000 hit points for the goblin. Like, that's clearly unbalanced. But what, 8, 15, 21, 3, 32? Is any of that unbalanced? Not necessarily. So, like, just fucking let it go. Let it go. There was another point I had, and I can't remember what it was. There was another concept, and I liked it. Shit. It might come back to me. I hope it does. So anyway, concepts. That's for them. I'm not finished this one. Unbalanced, man. Just let it happen. Like, I was thinking of doing, like, how to play D&D and stuff. And 5e, and I'm like, I don't know if I will, because 5e, honestly, I'm not confident that I know how to play it, because I just find it so complicated, and I play simple indie games that are built for me. They're like, here, no rules, play the game, enjoy yourself. I'm like, yes, I love fucking not having rules. But I was thinking, could you, like, spells, where like spell slots? I'm like, what's wrong with a wizard just throwing fireball all over the place if he just needs to roll? Like, he just needs to roll to cast the spell. He might fail, but you can just lob fireballs. I'm like, oh, it's unbalanced. I'm like, but like, if he rolls a 1, he's fucking dead. He's gonna fireball himself. I think at level 1, 2, and 3 anyway, you are just free to pick any number that's low. Not any number that's low. Like in the Monster Manual, right? CR1 or something. I don't even know anymore, the CR stuff. But like at level 1, picking between 10 and 20 health points, and 30 maybe is like, oh no, it's quite a lot. And you'll probably be in the range of okay. Obviously the higher range would be bosses, but a lot. That's what it was. So no, it's not. I still forgot my other concept that might be really good. But the whole point is that the balance comes with playing the game. Start low and like work your way up and kind of feel your way through the monster health by just playing with players. If you've just began the game, obviously I'm assuming some of you are veterans and this is completely pointless. But there may have been some nuggets in this one. What was the other concept? This is a fucking good one. I'm gonna remember after I shut this whole thing down. It's gonna really annoy me. Okay, I can't remember. Thank you for listening once again to my rambles. I don't really like doing these whole call to action things or whatever the fuck they're called. Thank you for watching my podcast. Come back. I remember. It was plan one session at a time in the beginning. Plan one session. Like, have ideas for what's going to happen in the future. Have ideas. Have stuff. Like, oh, I want to do it. Ultimately, I want to do like, oh, that's nonsense. Ultimately, I want to do, they get powers or they become a god or whatever. But every session, you should plan that session And that's it. Because you don't want to push them towards something. You don't want to push them towards some idea. No, yeah, some idea that you have. So you need them to get to this village because the next part of the plot happens there. Like, you should mold the plot around what they do. So, if you prep one session, but the reason I did this, and the reason I think you should start this way, not necessarily do this forever, is because you, as a new DM, are kind of, you think you need to know everything. You think there's balance. You think there's some stuff. All right, it's okay. We're all stupid at some point. You think I'm going to make them go this way, and there's all this stuff to do. No. Give them something cool. Give them something cool. Coolest thing possible. It's like the only session they're ever going to play. Remember, prep a session like it's the only session you're ever going to play. You prep it with dense with shit. If there's roleplay, there's exploration, there's excitement, there's combat, there's betrayal, there's love, there's everything possible. Not everything possible. Don't do that. A lot of stuff, like a dense game, and then once they end the game, you prep the next one based on what they did. So they might have gotten into a situation with NPCs. So then there's NPCs will come back in that session or the next session. You probably maybe want like ideas, like you plan ideas, but in terms of prep, like do that session because then you're not gonna force them to go. I maybe it's me. I didn't trust myself to not push them in a direction with fudging and with what I had in my head. I was like, I know it's kind of going this way, so my improv will kind of lead them that way. I was like, no, I want it to be completely open. Like, I don't know where this game's going. The only thing I've prepped is they must get from here to here, and there's something going to try and stop them in the middle. Where they're going to end up, I'm not sure. But a game I had recently, like I think it was I talked about it like a fuck ton in the last episode, was there was a demon in a town, and I knew I wanted a Mexican standoff with the two groups. Was it 3? I wanted a Mexican standoff with the players, the cultists, and the Baron, and this is his guards. So they would, well, actually, that's all I had. That was the scene I had in my head, and I thought it'd be really cool. And then as I started prepping the session, I was like, if there's a big demon attack, and then they kill the demon, that could be the moment where this Mexican standoff happens, because the town's kind of destroyed. There's dust particles floating everywhere. No one can really see, and then you're talking with the cultist that you've kind of made friends with, and then he doesn't really betray you. He just decides he's going to fight you. Is that betrayal? That's kind of what betrayal is. And then the Baron will come out, and then the players will be forced to fight 2 of them, but there's only going to be 3 of them at the time. That was my plan. And then I was like, right, I'll have something happen before. So I was able to weave them to that bit, sort of, but I just prepped the game. I was like, they're not going to run away from the demon. Well, they might have. But then what ended up happening was one of the players made a bargain with the demon. One of the players died, but then came back to life. And then there was a whole risen martyr situation. So he actually has a group now. And then, so it ended roughly the way I thought it was going to. And I did weave my way there. But I left most of it open. And then I prepped it on the day. And then a lot of it fell into place. Like I thought they would just kill the demon. But they didn't. They bargained with the demon left. Now there's a whole situation. So I was much more open to where it was going because I just kind of had an idea of how I wanted the situation to be, but they defined a lot of the details, which I think is kind of, it's a lot of contradictory information I feel in this episode where I'm like, don't prep only one session, don't plan an ending. But then I planned an ending, by the way, and I kind of got them there. But like I said, ideas. You want ideas, and then when it comes time to prep, you prep it. And you're like, I want to end up here. This is a situation, but I don't know how it's going to play out. Even though I think a Mexican standoff would be fucking cool. I hope I get it. And then an opportunity presented itself. And I was like, perfect, I'll do that. So that might have been that subconscious thing I was talking about where I forced them. But like I said, it's okay to force them to do it. Sorry, it's okay to force them. No, it's okay to force them a certain way. Or nudge them, or a gentle guide. But I think when you're beginning, you should just go prep things. Don't have an idea of how it ends or how it ends. And let the players figure that out and make that for you. And then their ending, how they ended it, becomes how you begin the next session. And then you create something cool. You don't know the ending. They'll create the ending for you. And then you keep going like that. The next thing you know, you've got a fully collaborative, unique story. We did it. Thank you for listening to my fucking rambles. Woo!